Lamentations says, "Is it nothing to you, all ye that pass by?" Let me ask you something, and this is not something I'm just asking yourself. This is something I've been wrestling with, not just as a broadcaster, but as a citizen, as a dad, a husband, a believer, a man who has spent, really honestly, most of my life now trying to understand the arc of history and the voice of God through all of it. The question I've been asking is a tough one. Is all of this worth saving? This thing we call Western civilization, this project that was born in Judea, refined in Athens, tested in Rome, reawakened in Wittenberg, baptized again on the shores of our own Plymouth Rock. This is a gift that we were all handed. We didn't earn it. We didn't purchase it. We were given it. Do we want it? Do we even want it? Because if we don't want it, what are we doing? Is it worth saving? Because if it's not, again, what are we doing? But if it is, what are we doing? All across Europe, the streets are restless, not just with protests, but with something far more ancient, and it is hatred. The kind of hatred that once fed ovens and marched under banners with swastikas until now. Now it just marches under flags that claim peace and chant things about a call for genocide. More violence in the streets. We are fractured. In this country, it's left versus right, flesh against spirit, neighbor against neighbor. Truth doesn't seem to have a home. And even the church, God help us, even the church has been found slumbering or worse, collaborating with it. We're told by everybody in our society that everything has to be reset. Everything you learned in history was a mistake. It's not true. Tradition, marriage, all of it, spondage, slavery, gender, it's fiction. Faith, that's hate. Truth, hate. And the only sin left is believing in the absolute truth. And then when you take a breath, you look at the paper and you see that AI is rising and borders are falling. You look inside your home and our children are confused and they're medicated and addicted and fatherless and suicidal. The universities are mocking what little is left of Western virtue. Our national debt can't be repaid. Our Congress is just screwing around more and more every day, it seems. Our elections no longer feel sacred. Our media doesn't inform, it just programs. Our schools don't educate anymore. They recondition, they retrain, they indoctrinate. So I ask you again, is any of this worth saving? I ask you, in all humility, in the spirit of a prophet standing before the ruins, holding the ashes of his people in his hands, that is the only question we need to answer. Is it worth it? Because if it's not, let's stop. But if it is, can we get to work? Honestly, get to work. If it's worth saving, then we have to know why. Why is it worth saving? And if it's not, then may God forgive us for what we're about to allow. So before we do anything in the news, can we just start with this? Let's start with, what is the West? What is it? You want to save Western civilization? What is it? Is it a location? No. Is it a race? God forbid. A flag? A constitution? No. The West is an idea. The West was an idea to escape all of the old oppressive ideas. It's the idea that man himself is made in the image of God, and that liberty does not come from kings or government, but it is a responsibility from heaven, that truth exists, that evil exists, and courage is required every day. Education, self-education, not self-medication, self-education is required from each of us every day. It's the idea that a man can speak his mind and not be silenced by a mob or a monarch, that a child can dream and not be forced into slavery, whether that's the slavery of the body or slavery of the mind. The West is an idea that reason and revelation walk hand in hand. They're not at war. That beauty matters. That kindness matters. That empathy matters. That beauty matters. That sacrifice is holy. That justice is blind and mercy is always near. That's what we inherited. And that's what we squandered. We allowed comfort to replace conviction. We allowed entertainment to replace education, pleasure to replace purpose. We handed screens to our children instead of our scriptures. We forgot our story. We forgot who we were. We don't think it's worth fighting for because we don't know who we are anymore. And boy, our enemies are only too happy to write an ending for us. If not now, when? When will it be time to get serious? If it's not now, when will it become time for you to say, I'm committed? And if not you, who? Is this worth saving? Is this worth dying for? Oh, yes. Yes, it is, and so much more. It's worth living for, truly living. It's worth saving. And this civilization, no matter how rocky it is, whatever its sins may be, was built on the blood of martyrs and prophets and poets and pilgrims and moms and dads and soldiers. They died for it. They didn't die for the stock market. They didn't die for pronouns. Not for surveillance, not for centralized digital currency, surely. They died for something higher, something bigger. I don't believe that's lost, not yet. Because I believe resurrection is real. And not just in the tomb outside of Jerusalem, but in the bones of any group of people that return to truth. Any group of people, any individual that returns to God, returns to honor, returns to truth, no matter how unfashionable, no matter the cost, returns to truth with humility, asking for forgiveness from their God, from their fellow human beings. It's not too late for any group of people that return to family, to community, to accountability, to self-accountability and responsibility. It's not too late because I have to tell you, I really strangely mean this. What an honor it is to live at this time. And after Charlie's death, I feel that way even more. We are living in historic times. What we do now will affect the lives of generations of people all over the world. What's happening in Europe right now, it's going to be up to us. What's happening in South Korea, I urge you to follow what we're finding now in South Korea. It's happening everywhere, and it will come down to us. But we were selected at this time to live at this time. We were made for a time such as this. Maybe the reason you care is because somewhere inside of you, you know that. Because somewhere inside you, you know you were called to help carry this fire. We're not called to win. All we're called to do is to stand. Is it worth standing? Is it worth saving? It's still true. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Pick up your torch. If that's what you decide, buckle up, we have a lot to cover today. If not, why would you waste your time with this show one more second? Back in a minute. You can learn a lot about people by looking at their boots. Are they worn? Are they scuffed from stairs and curbs? Do they still have dirt on them from a job site, a crime scene, a station house? Sometimes the boots of heroes really stand out. Tunnel to Towers honors the men and women who laced up their boots every day, knowing they may not make it home. When first responders fall in the line of duty, Tunnel to Towers pays off their mortgage immediately. When a service member returns home catastrophically wounded, Tunnel to Towers builds them smart homes, fully accessible, high-tech, tailored to their lives. These aren't symbolic gestures. These are bills paid, keys handed over, doors open. It's a commitment to stand with the families who gave more than most of us could ever imagine. So next time you see a pair of duty boots, remember there's a foundation out there that never lets them be forgotten. Never forget the sacrifices of our country's greatest heroes. Donate $11 a month at Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. 10 seconds, station ID. So I'm reading The Killer Yesterday. We're going to talk to the head of ICE here in a minute. But the killer yesterday in Dallas that shot himself, his mother apparently had posted a series of anti-gun rants on Facebook aimed at Republican lawmakers just a few years ago, and some of them were pretty nasty. You know, may you be reminded of the deaths every time you spend that precious blood money you receive from the gun lobby, yada, yada, yada. And she goes on, and she's very angry about guns. And there are many ways we can respond. But I wrote her a letter this morning. I write to you with a heavy heart, reflecting on the events of yesterday at the Dallas ICE facility, where your son, Joshua, took the lives of 2 migrants, wounded another, and then ended his own life. I honestly cannot imagine the depth of your grief, losing your son in such a devastating way. We're all losing too much. Too many children, too many friends, too many shared dreams. I read your words from a few years ago, just this morning, expressing frustration with the gun laws and the pain caused by violence. To me, it shows, one, a mom who cared deeply about the world her son was growing up in. You asked very pointed questions of leaders, holding them accountable for the tools of violence. And today, with respect and with kindness, I would just ask you to reflect on similar questions for yourself. Did the gun in your son's hand kill those people? Or was it your son's choice to pull the trigger? Did the gun that ended his life, was that the gun's decision or your son's decision? And I wonder, as you grapple with your own anger towards systems and policies, whether that rage, dare I ask, might it have shaped Joshua's path? May it have shaped his own anger, his own ideology, his own actions? I know you don't seem to understand, but our rights, including the Second Amendment, were born from a time when people feared unchecked power, authoritarianism, which is, I think, what you're afraid of, or your son was afraid of. governments that silence, oppress, decide who can live or die. And I don't know you at all, but I can't believe that you and I are that different in our hope that our children never face that kind of world. We both see it on the horizon, but at least one of us seems to recognize that it could happen from either side, but one side is really encouraging it, fomenting the hate and the killing here. But it's not the gun. Never has been. Guns have been in America's story from the very beginning. In the 1960s, a kid, an 8-year-old, could be sent by his father to go buy bullets without question. But the society wasn't fractured. And when assassination shook us then, we didn't turn to banning guns, we turned to healing the hate. That time period was followed by the Jesus Revolution. It brought people together, and for a moment we found common ground again, and we need to do that. I don't hold any anger toward you. I really feel for you as a parent. And I don't hold any anger on your son. You both have paid now an unimaginable price, caught in a tangle of rights and responsibilities in a society struggling to find love and compassion. But my hope is that you can find peace, forgive yourself and others, and perhaps one day work toward unity. We have to come back to shared principles, our universal rights given not by government but by something greater. And together we can honor those. Honor all of them, including your son that we have lost, by building a world where love and not hate shapes our future. I think every day before I get on the air about my words. I pray for you every day. I pray that I hear you, that I understand you, that I can speak to you, that I can hold your arms up, that I can give you something of worth. And I pray every day for God to strengthen me, because I am just like you. I am bluffing my way through this. Nobody's lived through this. It's my age. We haven't lived through these times. Others have, and they made it. But we all just have to do our best. I want to urge you to stop thinking so big and globally and start thinking small. Dream big, but think small. Just all you have to do is the next right thing. You usually know what that is. What is the next right thing? How I know what it is, it's usually the thing I don't want to do, but I know is right. Just do that. Every day, just pile those up.
This is Glenn Beck.
Talking to the head of ICE next. Your dog doesn't complain. He doesn't tell you when his stomach hurts or when his hips are starting to go or when his food makes him feel slow, sluggish, bloated. He just powers through, like he always has. But if you pay attention, the signs are all there. Less bounce, less running, maybe skipping a meal, turning down the ball. Rough Greens is not a dog food. It's what dog food is missing. It's the nutritional supplement that you sprinkle on, filled with live probiotics, digestive enzymes, vitamins, minerals, built to support energy, immunity, joint health, and digestion. Your dog doesn't complain, but they just guard you. They guard your family. They wait by the door without fail. They love you without a word. So he'll never tell you when he's hurting, but you can give him something that'll help him feel better anyway. There's a reason Rough Greens is known as America's #1 dog supplement. Right now, you can try it for yourself with a free Jumpstart trial bag. It's free. You just cover shipping. Go to roughgreens.com, roughgreens, RUFF Use the promo code BECK and break the cycle today. He's your best friend. Love him. Help him live a longer, healthier life. Rough Greens, RUFFgreens.com, promo code BECK.
Every story we talk about every day is in the Glenn Beck email newsletter. It's free. Sign up now at glennbeck.com.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Yesterday was at this time that we were dealing right down the street from these studios with another active shooting. This time it was at the Dallas ICE facility. Todd Lyons is with us now. He is the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Acting Director. He's the head guy at ICE. We're sorry for everything you guys are going through, Todd, and we thank you for your courage and willingness to serve every day. So thank you. Let's start there.
Thanks. I really appreciate it.
How is everybody?
Obviously everyone's really, shaken up. It's a hard time right now. Unfortunately, there's so many threats against ICE agents and officers up over, assaults are up over 1,000%. I've never seen anything like this in my career. But it's not going to deter the men and women of ICE. I can tell you out in Dallas today, they're out there doing enforcement operations, trying to get those criminal alien fugitives. So these kind of acts won't deter us, but it's definitely scary times.
It is. I heard from two large people in my business that do what I do last night. And both of them said the same thing, unbeknownst to each other, that they were both writing me, but they were both saying the same thing. Glenn, this is not going to stop me, but I'm afraid. I mean, this is getting really bad. Every time I walk outside or I walk to some meeting or some stage thing, I'm afraid somebody's going to shoot me. And it's normal and natural, but it's those who continue to do it every day that deserve our applause and our deep, deep thanks. Do we have any new intelligence about the shooter? The motives, the networks, anything?
No, so right now the FBI is doing great in their investigation. They're going down following every lead, social media post, his associates, family. There's going to be a press conference today at 1:30 with the U.S. Attorney down there in Dallas, so I don't want to get too far ahead of that. But obviously, Director Patel posted that photo yesterday of the shell casings that had anti-ICE. Just from I used to serve at the Dallas field office. That's where I started my career. And just looking at the photos from the scene, it's obvious this was an anti-ICE attack. It was an attack on ICE law enforcement. He indiscriminately shot all the windows on the backside of the building, the lobby doors. One thing that I think is kind of lost on a lot of it, too, is that the detainees weren't out of the vehicle. So he didn't know who was in those vehicles. He was just shooting at ICE vehicles. Those detainees were shot inside the vehicles. And I'm so proud of the men and women that were on the ground there, because ICE officers and agents were actually on the fire, but they went back to that Sally Port and they, rescued those detainees that were in those vans and started giving aid to those three that were injured. But yeah, just looking at, from what I've seen already, this was a pure attack on ICE law enforcement and ICE's mission.
How do you respond to some on the left and even those in the media on the left that are now saying that's ridiculous? He wouldn't have put anti-ICE on the bullets. That's the government trying to soup this up. This guy was clearly going after the immigrants, the illegals.
Yeah, it's disgusting and vile to even think that, media outlets or elected officials would want to think that or kind of spin that. If you just look at the whole scene itself and the whole situation, it was directed at ICE. He just didn't randomly pick that building one day. You know the area. He knew where it was. And when you think about the shooting, you had I-35 right there, people going to school, going to work. That's a high-powered rifle. Those rounds went through the windows, wound up inside the lobby, inside the back walls, buried an American flag. He could have killed so many innocent people in that area, but he specifically chose that ICE facility. And for anyone to think that this wasn't targeted on ICE and ICE law enforcement officers, then they're dead wrong.
So the Trump administration is now going after Antifa as a terrorist group. Thank God, finally. But there's also groups like the Socialist Rifle Association. We were going to talk about the John Brown Club that just put flyers out on the campus of Georgetown University. Hey, fascist, catch. The only political group that celebrates when Nazis die. Join the John Brown Club. Can you tell me the effects you think this and what we might be able to stop by going after some of these groups?
And that's, we are dedicated to the president's mission on that. One component of ICE is Homeland Security investigations. We have some of the best special agents, criminal investigators. We are going to track the money. We are going to track these ringleaders, if you will, right? I can give you an example. We had protests this weekend in Chicago doing our Operation Midway Blitz. And you hear a lot of elected officials say they're out there protesting, they're out there exercising their First Amendment right. But you don't go there and truck in shields, rocks, CS grenades, tear gas grenades, right? That isn't the First Amendment. That right there is just domestic terrorism. And that's what we're focused on. We're focusing on those people that are supporting these groups, those people that are bringing in the material support. When you look at half the people that were arrested for interfering with ICE operations, they're not from the local Chicago area. These people are coming from outside the local area who have no ties to the community. So these are professional agitators that are being brought in to impede or hurt my officers and agents. And we're dedicated that we're going to go out there and stop these. And we're so happy that President Trump has made Antifa a terrorist organization, because we're going to use all of our law enforcement powers to go ahead and stop these attacks.
There was a really despicable thing that came from Ilhan Omar. I think it was from Ilhan Omar, where she said that ICE was holding a 5-year-old autistic girl in Massachusetts to pressure the father to surrender. That's NBC reported it that way. Yesterday, NBC completely changed their story and reflected that. Can you comment on what really happened?
Yeah, that was just pure ignorance on that outlet's part. That was not the case at all. This father, who obviously isn't going to win Father of the Year, was in a vehicle that had his daughter. The ICE officers and agents did not know the child was in there. They conducted a traffic stop. He fled the car. And left the girl there. Pretty much, gave the ICE officers and the agents involved and the other federal partners two middle fingers and told them, come get me. And he would not leave the residence, even though we called, tried to coordinate, tried to negotiate. One great thing is the local police chief just came out in the Boston Herald and totally backed our story, that our officers were great, took care of the girl, that this criminal alien was totally in the wrong. So it's that type of narrative that's out there, really, that's spinning up all this violence and hate against my brave men and women, is when stories like this totally get distorted. And most of the public, unless people like yourself or other outlets kind of report on it, would never know what the true story is. They would always just think that ICE agents and officers are so evil that they would hold a 5-year-old autistic girl hostage, if you will, right, to try to arrest her dad.
I saw the pictures that they finally published, or before in the earlier story it said ICE surrounded this. She was surrounded by agents who were holding her, and then the pictures are released, and there's one guy, I don't even know if he was an ICE agent, but there was one guy kind of standing near her. She was sitting on the bumper of a truck drinking water. It was completely not what they tried to make it appear. Let me play a piece of audio for you. Came from Tuesday night, and get your response. We're talking to Todd Lyons. He's U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Acting Director. Listen to this. Gavin Newsom on Stephen Colbert.
That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability, happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country. And so I'm deeply proud that I had the privilege of signing the nation's first bill to address the issue of masking, also to require you have simple identification, to your point. I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government. You saw what Stephen Miller said last week. This should put chills up spine. Called the Democratic Party an extremist organization, basically a terrorist organization.
Well, he's just catching up with Barack Obama, what he said in 2009 about the Republicans. Anyway, Todd, do you have any response to that? Yeah,
and honestly, I think the governor's comments are disgusting. criminal illegal aliens flock to his state because they know they can do their crimes there. He said that, and then the next day, look what happened at the ICE facility in Dallas. He's saying that he would push back against, masked men or jump out of a van. Well, and also he says that people don't get due process. Every one of the individuals we arrest do get due process. Or in the cases of the ones that have final orders of deportation from years back that they've ignored the rule of law, they had their due process, had every appeal possible, but they didn't leave the country. Yet it's comments like that are causing all the issues. I truly believe the governor shouldn't have said that. To say that people should push back and he supports pushing back against ICE, that's just totally wrong.
Why do you have ICE markings or police markings on your vest or anything? Do you jump out of a van with no markings?
No, that would never ever happen. I'm very proud of my media affairs, my public affairs, and our social media team. We always post the worst of the worst. We always post what we're doing in the field. You see our arrest videos. The ICE agents and officers clearly marked. They have their badges on them. They have their badge numbers. They have what agency they work for when the other federal partners are with us. You can see clearly it's either ATF or DEA. So it's a false narrative that's being put out there. And I would just say to any elected official, do a little bit of homework. I'd invite them to look at our social media page and actually see what we are doing. Or better yet, even sit down and have a conversation with myself or other field leaders on the ground, or come out and actually see one of our operations.
It's sad because they already know this. I mean, that's the real sad part is they know this. He's not stupid. He knows what's going on. And he also knows why. I mean, you tell me, why are ICE agents masking themselves?
Well, I can tell you this, and it's happened to me, me and my family. ICE officers and agents get doxxed and threatened continually. And I can tell you that we did a large operation with the U.S. Secret Service in the governor's state, in California, in Los Angeles, where there was individuals that were taking photos using enhanced AI technology, identifying them, posting their families' Instagrams, their kids' Instagrams, their addresses on telephone poles. Just in California, we had a deportation officer get followed to his residence while he was picking up his wife and kid to go to dinner and get attacked in his own driveway. That is why they have to wear masks. I'm not a fan of masks. They're not a fan of masks. It's hot. It's uncomfortable. But I will support them to make sure that they get home safe every night and that their families are safe.
Yeah, I would wonder why the governor hasn't ruled out all masks. I mean, I see the people fighting against you all the time. They're always masked.
Yeah, and that's one of my biggest frustrations is here you go, you're taking the time to write a law in a state, yet we were out there battling night after night, protesters in masks, helmets that were causing so much damage and so much violence in the city of Los Angeles, yet nothing is said about that. And it's almost they're champions for fighting back against us and what our mission we were doing. It's disgusting.
Todd Lyons. Todd, sincerely, we know what you're risking. We know what all of you are risking, and we thank God that you're doing it so we don't have to. But we pray for you, and we deeply, deeply appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate you letting me tell the story of the brave men and women of ICE.
You got it. Todd Lyons, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Acting Director. He's the big, bad fascist that everyone is worried about, and boy, doesn't he sound frightening. Back in just a minute. Here's something you might not have always considered. It's not always the big moments that determine whether you feel safe in your home or not. Sometimes it's not the small ones. It's the knock you don't expect, the shadow on the driveway, the window you forgot to lock. And in those moments, you either have a security system to ease your mind or you don't. And if you don't have one, you should. Simply Safe doesn't wait for trouble to make a scene. It catches it in motion. Cameras with smart detection, sensors that trigger quietly but respond instantly. 24/7 monitoring that is not just watching, it is ready to act. It's designed to blend in. No drilling, no strangers in your house for installation, just a system you can set up yourself in under an hour. I've done it. It's easy. And trust for years to come. The best security systems don't call attention to themselves. They watch, they listen, and when somebody crosses the line, they draw attention to that person, to the right people, so the right people know, because sometimes the threat you don't see coming is the one that matters most. Visit simplysafe.com/Beck. Claim 50% off a new system. That's simplysafe.com/Beck. There is no safe like Simply Safe.
Glenn Beck.
Well, I'm guessing that you probably don't want to take a stranger's prescription medication. Probably a bad idea. If you're drinking unfiltered tap water, you might be doing just that without even realizing it. And that's because when people take medications like antidepressants and hormone therapies, not all of it gets absorbed. The rest of it ends up in your wastewater, and most treatment plants do a terrible job filtering it out. Surprise, surprise, the leftover junk that's in the water is eventually circulating back into potentially your glass. And you don't want to even think about this. It's kind of gross to think about. But you don't have to think about it when you have Cove Pure. Cove Pure is one of the only purifiers that tackles the problem head on. It's lab certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants, including pharmaceutical residue. The result is clean, crisp, safe water. Nothing added, nothing sketchy. If it's right on your countertop, it looks great too. It's going to look great in your kitchen. No plumbing is required, and it lets you choose the water temperature with a tap of a button. So you want some nice cold water for a cold drink. You want some hot water for a hot beverage, whatever you want, room temp. It's simple, it's effective, and it gives you real peace of mind. Because if you're careful about what goes into your body, you should be just as careful about what comes out of your tap. So don't wait around for the government to solve this. They're not going to do anything as usual. CovePure.com/Blaze. CovePure.com/Blaze. Get $200 off while supplies last. CovePure.com/Blaze.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. We have Megan Kelly on in just a minute. She was in the University of Virginia. We were asked by Erica Kirk, could you fill in for Charlie? And so many of us said, yes, we will. But I beg them, please, no. I don't. Here's why. That's not what I do. I would lose I'd lose my cool way too fast. I can't take it. I just can't take it. You might have to have, a blood pressure cuff on me the entire time. And an ambulance standing by because I just might drop dead of a heart attack because I just can't take the stupidity. But anyway, she was asked about the rich Jews that are influencing, all of our policies, which is, that was great. She answered it really, really well. There were a couple of things, you guys are covering up what the real motive is on Charlie Kirk's shooter. It wasn't from the left. And I just want to ask her for advice on how did she do it? How did she do it? She's going to be joining us next. We're going to talk about that. She's going on another tour, and she's invited me to do that with her as well. I think everybody's trying to kill me with a heart attack. I think that's what everybody's trying to do, but we'll talk to her in just a minute.
This is Glenn Beck.